today we have a real treat in the studio, none other than Eric McNeil. Eric is the founder of McNeil X, which handles the business, brand, and wealth management for athletes and entrepreneurs. They help families protect and grow generational wealth and help athletes and entrepreneurs to build and scale their income and influence. He's also the host of a new and upcoming podcast titled Breaking the Huddle, where you interview some of your clients, athletes, NFL guys to help inspire other people. It's awesome, man. Welcome in.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, man. Happy to be here.
Yeah, this is good. This is a long time coming. I've, as I mentioned, I've been following you on Instagram, and you seem to be doing a lot of awesome stuff and crushing the game. So figured you'd fit right in with some of the folks you've had on the show and kind of tell your story, man.
Yeah, honored to be here. I've seen a couple of studs come through, so happy to be able to hopefully live up to the hype that some of these other guys have done. So I'm happy to be here.
No doubt. Well, Eric, first thing I typically ask my guests is just to talk a little bit about your upbringing, kind of give us some background in terms of maybe childhood, early teenage years to help us understand kind of how you transitioned to who you are today.
Sure. So I grew up in Mesa, Arizona. I loved every piece of it, except for summers. Oftentimes, obviously it gets super hot but Arizona's great. Loved every piece of it. And then, grew up in sports, and that kind of is what drove me to do what I do today.
What did you play?
So I did everything. Okay. I really did. So like literally every season I was enrolled in some sort of a sport. Once I got into high school, I started focusing more on like basketball and football. Mm-hmm. And then like in the off season to stay in shape, I'd run track. And then football, I was always doing like the agility style stuff. So like defensive back, running back, kick return, punt return, right?
Nice.
So fairly athletic. And then, right through high school, served a mission for our church, was gone for 2 years, lived in South America. It was fantastic. And then when I got home, I had like this big moment because right before I left, I was getting recruited to play some college football. Not like I was anything like, SEC, big schools, but like still D1 to play. And when I got home, I was like, okay, I really want to like seek this out and check it out. I was getting ready to like go be like a preferred walk-on at ASU. And then I see like the schedule, like what's demanded of your time. And I was like, holy crap, like I'm not going to have any time to work, so I won't make any money. I'm dating this girl. I'm like really starting to get really serious with her. And so I'm like, do I keep trying to play football or do I go make money and like get life started kind of a thing, right? And I went with the latter, thank goodness, because now we're married.
Nice.
We have 3 children, 1 with us, 2 in heaven, and then we have 2 little dogs with us. And now like, man, if I had tried to just live out that dream, like to keep playing, I mean, who knows what would have happened, but I definitely would not be where I'm at today. And I'm just so fulfilled with what I'm doing today. So like absolutely 0 regrets, extremely happy with what I decided to do. And yeah, man. And so, at Arizona, I guess to start working, right. And start making money.
Yeah.
I wanted like a secure job. So I got a job at the bank. It's like Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And it's so funny. A lot of people, like if you follow me on social media, you see a lot of kind of like the flashier stuff. Mm-hmm. I try to mix in a lot of the wholesome stuff. The flashy stuff is just to grab attention, just so you can hear my message later, right?
Yeah.
And not a lot of people know like the real, like deep, like stories of like getting started. And so like, dude, even to get my job, it was in the middle of summer. I had to borrow my dad's bike to ride my bike to an interview. I'm like in a suit and I'm like, dude, I'm like sweating through my shoes. It's so hot. And like, but I really wanted this job. Right. And so, for like the next couple of weeks, or I guess the next month, I was riding my bike to work every single day. Finally got enough money to like go put like $2,000 down on like a $4,000 car.
Okay. Yeah.
And then like, just like the smallest little things to get to where I could be comfortable. Right. And so it's like, the reason why I bring up that story and that's so important to me is that, it's shaped the way I view money and shaped the way I view investments and opportunities because it's still very like vivid to me. And so, and I talk to my wife about it all the time. Like, look, if we like struck out, and we had to start over. It's not really starting over. Like I have the blueprint to go be successful. So I'm extremely confident that as long as I don't ruin my name, right. I would be able to go make it back very fast. Right. And so I've been comfortable with nothing. Mm-hmm. And so for me to do that, like, it's just paying attention to the things that I've already done and just like re-executing and kind of like doing that all over again, you know?
Yeah, I love it, man. And I've heard that from multiple people that you, as you learn and grow, you truly become the asset, right? Like your skill set, your name, your brand becomes what creates the value. And so, like you said, even if you lost it all tomorrow, economy, whatever, like, you know, you're confident enough in yourself that you can go rebuild that if you had to. So love it, dude. Well, so was that first job while you were at college, or was that after college?
No, that's what's crazy is like, I actually never finished college. Okay. So, I was starting to, I did like 2 semesters. I was in that first year, like starting to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I knew right away that I wanted to take off in this career as like a financial advisor. Right. Yeah. So like the first year at the bank, I didn't think so. I was like, man, like, I don't want to be working with numbers all day. I don't want to like track the stock market all day. Like, that just seemed like so tedious. And I was just like, I really like people. Mm-hmm. But then I realized that financial advisors are not like behind the desk all day and on the computer all day. Like, they are truly like relationship managers. Yep. And they just meet people all day. I'm like, holy, like, dude, I would thrive in that field. Like, I'm so good at that. And so that's where I started going into it. I noticed, like, cause I would talk to my dad as well, like my parents, about like what their retirement would kind of look like. And, you know, my dad's an extremely hard worker, and he stepped up at a very young age to take care of his family. And it just stuck. And so he started his landscaping company when I think he was like 17, 18, 19, like around that age. Yeah. And just started like crushing it. Right. And started doing that. And he's still doing it to this day. And so when we talked, like, maybe this was 10 years ago now, I was like, what are you going to do like for retirement? He was like, well, like, no one ever taught me. So like, I don't have a retirement account. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to work until I can't, kind of a thing. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so that like was really eye-opening, really scary, and really sad, because like, you have a lot of love for your parents, you know, and like, they've done everything to sacrifice for you.
Right.
And so that's when I started taking that field even more serious. So I was like on the fence about being an advisor at that point. And when we had that conversation, I was like, okay, I'm going to be like an advisor. Like, I want to help you, I help mom, and I want to make sure that like I can help everybody in this kind of situation. Like, that's what I really want to do. And then from there, like, yeah, I helped out with some stuff, and you just started teaching like some literacy. And I'm not the biggest advocate of like the Dave Ramsey kind of stuff, but like, dude, for someone who's like in middle class, who's like trying to get stuff figured out, like, he's a very great like educator, mm-hmm. right? Like, at the very least. And so, you know, my dad started following some of those principles, and, you know, mixed with some of the stuff that I was teaching him. And now he's like, dude, he's like ready to go. Like, now it's to the point where it's like, okay, like, got the house paid off, the truck's paid off, like, I still make good money, and I have some money put aside. So it's like, whenever I'm ready, I can sell the business and kind of downsize, and like, I'm good. Yeah. And so like, that was like, so like such a relief to like hear and see that. Like, granted, it took 10, 12 years, but it's just such a relief to see like the fruits of all that, you know?
Yeah, I love it, man. And similar with my parents, you know, they're so hardworking. They've done so much for me, but they didn't really have a retirement plan, you know, and I don't think a lot of people do. Right. And I think being a financial advisor is such an invaluable role that you can play to help people get their stuff together, mm-hmm. Especially later in life if they haven't had that plan, or, you know, started saving since they were 20 years old in a Roth IRA, or done something that, you know, Dave Ramsey would recommend. But that's great, man. So, okay, you're coming out of kind of high school, you pass, you go in your mission, you pass on the football experience, you start working at a bank. Take us from there. Kind of what was the next step in your journey?
I know it comes off like kind of like cocky or whatever, but dude, I dominated like when I was like working. I was always like, one thing, it was so funny, like my managers would pull me aside. They're like, hey, like, what motivates you? Like, how can we like motivate you? Like, what keeps you on the ball? And I was like, at first I would say like the typical things. So you want to like look good, your manager. It's like, well, like, it's really fulfilling. I do this, blah, blah, blah. And then one day I was just like, dude, like, I want to be the best, like genuinely. And at Wells Fargo, like you have these rankings, like you could log in at any point in time to see where you rank in the state and in the nation and in your region. Everyone looks at the region, but I was like, dude, I'm going to look at state and national. And for like 14 or 15 straight months, I was number one in the entire state. And then I was looking at national level and I was like top 25 for like almost a whole year, like in the banking, on the banker side. Wow. And it's just crazy because like that's not just like taking people walk in, that's like actively like reaching out to people, getting loans done, like high loan volume and like, you know, accounts and all that setup stuff. And I was like, dude, like this is dope. Like I feel like really good at like these accomplishments. But then these, I don't want to call them bums because I mean I got some respect from them, but there's these people next to me not working, not doing well, and we make the same amount of money. And dude, that's when I was like, I can't be in a position where I'm better than you, I work harder than you, and we make the same amount of money. And so that's where like the transition started really happening of like leaving a 9-to-5, being commission only. 'Cause commission's scary, man. Like it really is, especially like if you have dependents, you know, like if your spouse isn't working, you have kids or like whatever the case is, like that's really stressful. So I moved from the bank into wealth management, but still within a bank. So like, yes, I was commission only, but I still had like, if I had good relationships with like tellers and bankers and stuff, I can get referrals. And that's where I started getting like a feel for like a little bit of the entrepreneur side, like commission only, like eat what you kill, and did a really good job there. Again, like we were the top 3 team, like in the whole region, which is like the western side of the US. And then I was like, okay, now I'm ready to like really move forward. And this is what was so cool. I really wanted to take a leap and go all by myself, but I was like, really like, I don't know what was holding me back. I knew I was confident enough, but like, was it like imposter syndrome? Sure. Where I was like, dude, I'm really good at things, but like, there's so many people who know so much more than me that aren't that great.
Yep.
And so there was something about it that like, I was nervous that I wouldn't know enough to be a financial advisor on my own, right? Like I'm good at helping people out, but like knowing the ins and outs of compliance, like that was the biggest one. That's probably the one, the scariest one is like being super compliant all the time. Yep. And so I was like really, really reluctant, and dude, I'll never forget. And it was at the end of the year, 2019, I get a call and they said, hey, like we're downsizing all the teams and we got to let you go. Dang. And I was like, dude, what? And I sat there and like literally as soon as I said what, I was instantly like, oh, this is what I've been waiting for. Yeah. And like, dude, it happened so fast. And I was like super calm and I was like, okay, cool. Like I'll go start my firm now. And it wasn't even like thinking like, what's next? I was like, I know what I got to do. Right. And so that's where things got fun. I went home to my wife and obviously she was like really nervous and scared. I was like, look, like we're good. We have, you know, we've been talking about, we want to move to Utah. We have a ton of equity in our home. Like we can sell, we can move. That's enough cash to like, if we live like pretty tight, that's enough cash to get us through a year. Yeah. Like we're fine. Right. Let's just go make it happen. No more excuses. Like we don't have any kids in the house right now. Like, what else? Like there will never be a better time, essentially, right? Like my time isn't demanded of anybody but you right now. And money wise, like it's me and you, right? And so we did it. We pulled the trigger. Funny story though, when we were moving to Utah, it was January 1, 2020. Okay. To kick off the year, bro.
Perfect timing.
And we're driving up, it's a huge snowstorm, and I hit black ice, and I slide off the road, like into the snow, and I was there for like 2 hours until a truck from Nephi could come pick me up and tow me out. Wow. And it was super stressful and cold, and I was like, dang, like this is what the year's going to start out. I was like, look, it can't get much worse, right? And then like fast forward, like not even a month, there was that earthquake. I don't know if you remember that, like shook like I remember the temple and everything else. And I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. So we've been here. I fell off the road. We've had an earthquake. Certainly nothing could get worse. And like not even a month later, everyone's like, what's this COVID thing? And I was like, bro, like you could not have like drawn out of a hat like a more like crazier situation of those things like happening like so quickly. Right. Yeah. And it played into my favor because everyone went online. And if you look me up online, like I have a big presence online. And at first people would have a hard time trusting someone online, but because the whole world went online, you could only trust people who came from online.
Yeah.
And so for you to have an online presence, I immediately went from like I'm not sure if I can trust you. Like you don't have like a big like firm being represented, like backing, to, oh wow, like you meet with a lot of people online, you do this, you have this big presence, like you're not going to be scamming people with this massive name where everyone has all these eyes on you. Like it'll get out very quick and you get shut down. Right. And so I started getting a lot of trust from a lot of people, and honestly played in my favor, and we were super fortunate. Yeah. And that's where things just started taking off, man. And then we've been here, and I've been here for 3.5 years now.
Dude, I love it, man. Yeah. Talk about turning lemons into lemonade. Man, what a rough start to the year, and
right.
COVID and all that. But it sounds like you pivoted and pulled it off. So was that Diamond Financial? Was that what you started with?
Yep. So when I moved up here initially, that's when I did like a couple of months with just like a local firm to like, I could be independent, but they were doing compliance for me.
Okay.
And then just quickly found that like the way that they market themselves as financial advisors was strictly life insurance.
Okay.
And I was just like, dude, like life insurance has its place. Obviously, I think it's integral for like estate planning and all that, but it shouldn't be like the end all be all. I think it was just like a sales position that everyone wanted to make quick commissions. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want that. I wanted to like actually be an advisor, right? And like help out and do more things. And then that's when we launched Diamond Financial.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And when you talk about compliance, so I actually started my career with JP Morgan in their private bank. Mm-hmm. So I was down in Orange County, and I took the Series 7, Series 63, nice. And like, you have to hang your license with like these big brokerage shops. So how have you been able to navigate that, like with licensing and regulation? I mean, how complicated has that been?
To set up the RIA is what I had to do, the Registered Investment Advisor. And we custodian with Charles Schwab. Okay. So like if a client wanted to invest money, they deposit the money into Schwab, and then we'd handle the investments from there. And I paid a company RIA registrar, and they weren't that expensive. I think it was like $7 to $10K to set up, and then like $500 a month for like ongoing compliance back end. But like their compliance is like extremely hands off. It's mostly like filings that I need to have done. But like if I wanted to like post, hey, we have this sweet deal going on right now, I would need to send it to them, right? Because, well, yes and no. So it's like, if I posted something and I got in trouble for it, I can't blame anybody but me, right? And so that's why compliance is there. So if I hired a bunch of agents, I'm like, hey, before you post anything, send it to me. I'll get it approved, and then you can post it, because I don't want to get in trouble for you. So what they were telling me for compliance side is like, dude, like it's your company. If you think it'll fly without getting in trouble, like you should know the rules enough, right? Like obviously don't make any guarantees, don't make promises, don't talk too specifically about rates, and like, you're okay, right? For the most part. Yeah. So it wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be. But yeah, when it gets down into like the financial planning softwares, like that started to get expensive and time consuming. It was super time consuming. It's really, but it's super beneficial because that's what we signed up for, right?
Right.
And now the really cool part of it is, now that I'm a fund manager and now I own McNeil X, bro, life got so much easier.
Yeah.
So much easier. Being a fund manager is win, win, win. One, the client makes more money because now I have opportunities to invest. Like for example, you have your real estate deals, right?
Yep.
So instead of having them risk 80% of their portfolio into stocks, right, into equities, to try to get 8 to 10. I know, like, yeah, Trump bump, everyone's getting 20%, but that's not realistic.
Right.
8 to 10% every year. Like you take 80% risk to your portfolio to hopefully get 10% of it back every year is what we're taught. And that's really good, right? But now, like, that's why I was telling people, I have this conversation all the time. The reason the wealthy get wealthier is because they have access to bigger deals. You become an accredited investor, you can go give someone $1 million and have, like, I know you can't say guaranteed, but like fixed rates of return of like 10 to 15% every year with no risk. Right. And so that's where becoming a fund manager kicked in, right? So the client is making more money because we do fixed income deals in real estate. We have an opportunity fund. Last year, my clients got over 400% returns.
Wow.
So obviously they make more money. Two, I make a lot more money. And so anybody who's an advisor who's thinking about being a fund manager, do it. Just go do it. Right. Yeah. Because client wins, I win. I make a lot more because now it's not just your 1% of assets under management. When you're a fund manager, it's a lot more like hands-on, and you actually tip very, very, very typical to charge 2%. So you already double your income. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, depending on the deal, like you can do a carried interest, like a profit share. Yep. So we can be like an 80-20 profit split. So now my income could go up 30 to 40x from when I was a financial advisor, right? Yeah, right. And then the final win, we just talked about compliance and licensing and stuff like that. I no longer need to have a registered investment advisor like firm and register with the SEC federally and like all these big things. I can literally have an LLC, and it's like, I just have a private placement investment company. Yeah. And it's just an LLC. I don't register with the feds. I don't register with anybody. It's just like, it's me. And the best part about it is, as a financial advisor, you're a fiduciary to your clients, right? Biggest thing. And fiduciary just means you do it in their best interest at all times. Doesn't matter your commission. You always do it in their best interest, right? Mm-hmm. So where I had, hundreds or even, 1,000 clients that I had to like meet with quarterly and do all these things, right? I drop every client, and now I have one client as a fund manager, and it's the fund. So I do what's in the fund's best interest. So and I know it sounds heartless, and obviously I'd figure out a way to do it, but like to put it into like layman's terms, if my mom and dad came to me and they signed a document saying that it's like a year hold for like a real estate syndication, right, or 2 years, and they say, hey, Eric, I need to pull the money out. Like, I understand there's going to be like some tax penalties, or like I'll lose some interest, but like we need the money. I would say, I'm sorry. Like you signed a document saying that the fund will have the money for 2 years, and I have to abide by that. I have one client. Yeah. And dude, that sounds cold and it's harsh, but it's like, if I bend for you, like I could lose everything. Because now everybody else that they're agreeing to the rules, they can come after me, right? And obviously, like, I'd figure something out. It's my mom and dad, right? But like, that's an extreme example. But it's like, dude, I have one client now. I focus on the fund. My clients make more money. I make more money. It's less regulated, less paperwork, less compliance. But like, we're all winning, and it's just a better situation.
Dude, I love it. This is why I wanted to have you on, man. I'm excited to unpack a little bit of that. So when you guys were Diamond Financial, you were an RIA. Yeah. Is McNeil X, so have you transitioned away from RIA single client relationships? And yeah. That's what McNeil X
And that's where McNeil X came in. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long were you doing Diamond Financial before you transitioned?
3 years.
3 years. Mm-hmm. Okay. That was from 2019 to...
Yep. To now.
To now, pretty much.
To this year.
So you launched McNeil X this year, 2023.
So like McNeil X is comprised of the things that I've been doing, and now it's just formally like put together.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, backing up a little bit with Diamond Financial. So you moved to Utah, you work for another shop for a little bit, then you're getting that off the ground. So how did you go about finding some of your first clients? I mean, getting them to trust you. What was your strategy for like pounding the pavement? Yeah, I know you work a lot with athletes, entrepreneurs, but what was the first 6 months like trying to get a business off the ground?
My gosh. So I was really naive, really arrogant. And I feel like there's gonna be so many people who are listening to this that like want to be like the financial advisor, who want to go like the Northwestern and all these different companies, right? They're going to relate so hard to this that like, I genuinely thought it was, dude, you go golf 2-3 times a week and you'll get any client you want. Yeah. I thought it was like, dude, I thought it was going to be a cakewalk. And I even told my wife, I'm like, dude, like I went and got like a custom suit. I went and got some new clubs. I'm like, bro, this is going to be like easy. I'm just going to take them, go golfing, sit them down, get some food, and they'll invest. Yep. And oh my gosh, like the biggest awakening that was so far from the case. Like the guys who are golfing that often, like already have like several million in assets under management, like probably tens of millions. If you got less than 10 million, especially you're only charging 1%, and then your firm gets like probably 30% of that, like you're not making that much money. Mm-hmm. Right. And so if you're not making a couple hundo, at least like you should not be golfing 2-3 times a week. Right. Yeah. Like you need to be doing the outreach. Right. And so it was cool because I finally got one of the most powerful tools, which was, I had two things. So I had one that was like an income calculator. And so, this taught me to control what you can control. And it just kind of worked backwards. So it was, how much commission do you make per client? Let's call it $5,000. Okay. Sweet. So if you want to make $100,000, how many clients do you need to hit, your goal, right? That's 20 people at $5,000 a piece. Perfect. So now what are the activities required to get one client? So how many meetings does it take to close that client? Perfect. How many phone calls does it take to schedule that first meeting? How many texts does it take to follow up? How many, and back to back to back to back. And you work your way backwards to where it goes down to your phone calls. So how many pieces of outreach do you have to do per day to hit $100,000 or whatever your goal is, right? 100 is just easy numbers. And so it got to the point where I was like, okay, if I make, 32 phone calls per day, each phone call, whether they answer, say yes or say no, I'll be making $6 a phone call, regardless of what they say. And so I'm like, oh man, this started to change everything for me. So now it's being extremely active, right? Cause I'm not gonna lie, dude, like I said, the first little bit I was even a tiny bit lazy. I hate to admit it, but I was it'd be midday and I'm like, well, my clients are working and I did some of my outreach. I message them and I'm waiting. I'll eat, I'll watch a little bit of Netflix and just kind of wait around and dude, I shouldn't be doing that. You need to be in the public. You need to be going to car event. I do the Cars and Coffee, Cars and Coin. I go to everything now. Right. And it's I'm making way more money than I did, but I'm also still way more active than I was because once I started to figure it out, I'm just a buddy of mine, KB, shouts to KB. We always say a married man can never have too much money. And so it's once you start learning those principles of how to make money, you just can't stop. Once you figured it out, you just cannot stop. I don't know what it is, but it's just a momentum of a snowball going downhill and it's just full force and you just can't slow it down.
Yeah. I love it. I love how you broke it down because I've heard that again and again. It's if you just set an arbitrary goal, I want to have $100,000 in income, but you don't, back into that, it's nearly impossible to actually hit it. So how did you track those things though? Was it just Excel? I hit all these calls, I sent all these emails. How are you keeping yourself accountable?
Yeah. So at first, to make it really easy, cause I'm for some reason, I'm a paper guy. I use tech for everything, but for just important things, I need a paper in front of me. I don't know if it's psychological, to check something and seeing it, right, to do. And so I would do that. I would say 35 phone calls and I have a checkbox. And then I would say 30 outreach on social media platforms, 1 post per day, 1 poll per day, and then your follow-ups. And it was just I can control all those. And then at the very bottom was ask 5 people for an appointment every day. And I was like, dude, I can do that. So it was sometimes to ask 5 people, I'd have to do 50 pieces of outreach. And you know what I'm saying? Or even sometimes at 5, it's I can do that in 15 calls, but I still need to do my 35. So now I do an extra 20, right? And so there were things that are just in my control. You can't control yeses, you can't control no's, hang-ups, any of that. So control your activity and you'll be able to hit those goals.
Love it, dude. Yeah. Because I'll set, sometimes I still do where I'm oh, I want to do this, but if you have no control over the I guess the input, then it's very hard to get the output, you know? And that's where I'll get depressed, dude. Cause I'm oh, I set this goal for 2023, or 2022, whatever it was. But if I don't have these standards or inputs that are actually going to get me there, something that I can check off, it gets kind of depressing because you're just well, what am I doing? So I like that, dude. The little things, right? Just getting after it day by day. Well,
all goal setting, every macro goal has to have micro goals. Yeah. They have to, you said, or you're not going to do it. The biggest book that changed my life was 12-Week Year, because a lot of people, a big example was weight loss. People are at the new year, everyone says, I want to lose 20 pounds this year, right? And then you fast forward to end it, you do good for a week or two, you fall off the wagon, you're well, I got time. And then March rolls around, you're okay, well, summer's coming up, I still haven't lost any weight, I can still hit it, let's see, 9 months, okay, that's still only 2 pounds a month. And then it's summertime and say, well, I guess my summer body will be next year.
Yeah.
And now it's August, September, October, and you're dang, I have 3 months to lose 20 pounds. And now it's you ratchet up the intensity. But if you could take your 12-month goals and put them into 12-week goals, it's insane what you can actually accomplish.
Yeah.
Because now it's like, hey, I have this 20-pound goal for the year. What can I do in 3 months? How can I get that? Obviously, you probably wouldn't want to do 20. It's probably not very healthy. But like now you start to like reassess your goals in 12 weeks at a time, because, dude, 12 months, who knows what could happen? Right. 12 weeks is right in your grasp, and you can go make anything happen in that short period of time.
Yeah, so good, dude. So what was the catalyst to transitioning? So you're doing Diamond Financial for a few years. Sounds like you got that ramped up. Things are going well, sounds like. Yeah. But what was the catalyst for like, all right, RIA, let's shift to a fund? You mentioned the benefits, but I mean, was there something that was like, I don't know, why'd you guys end up doing that? Yeah,
I would say the benefits, because I'm starting to get into this position to where once you have 100 million of assets, or you're in 15 or more states, now you need to get the SEC involved. And it's like constantly breathing down your neck, always have to report everything. Like there's a lot of filings, and it's just, I don't know. What happened was one day I met with a guy in private equity, and I just went and we hung out for a little bit, and he started out as an RIA, and I went to just talk to him about like how he got, it is networking. Like, how did you like build up these funds? Now he has like 300 million management. And I was like, dude, how'd you get to that? Right. And so we were talking, and he was like, man, like my life changed when I dropped my licenses and became a fund manager. And I was like, what? And I was like, okay, go over all this again, because like I'm familiar with it, but like, why would you do that? Like, and I told him, I was like, dude, I spent so long to get my licenses. Like, it was a pain, dude. And like, I failed a couple of them, and like the bank that I went through, like they had me do my life and my health and my 6 and 63 and 65 and my 7. And so it's like, dude, you go through all these exams and you fail a couple of them, and then you have to retake them, and you pass it. And I was just like, dude, that took so much time and energy. And he's like, bro, like get over it. Like, it's just like that fallacy of like the sunken cost. So it's like, you keep like, you write it out because you like invested the time. He's like, dude, cut it. He's like, cut the loss. He's like, I promise you your life will get better if you became a fund manager. Yeah. And dude, sure enough, like I reached out to Bridger Pennington. Went through like his black card program, loved it, love him. And yeah, man, it's, found some really great partners, and now, dude, the clients are winning, I'm winning, life's easier, and that's great, just so much better.
So how big did you get Diamond Financial? Like, what was your AUM?
Yeah, we weren't even like massive, honestly. Like I did, we had some decent on the AUM, and then like really good like insurance stuff, because I was doing a lot of like infinite banking, and like that's where I had like a really good niche. Was clients front loading money, having like 90% liquidity, borrowing from it to go get real estate and go get other investments and other things. And so I did really well doing that. And yeah, we had a lot of AUM. It wasn't a ton. Like I think between like 10 to 20, probably. So nothing crazy. Like it wasn't big at all. But really good on the insurance side. We're making good money on that. But yeah, and then now like going over on the fund side, I can still do insurance, but now it's like, do you want fixed income? Do you want to like something that can shoot for the moon? Do you want something, you know what I mean? Like we do venture capital, private equity, like these different things, you know? And so, yeah, it was like a no brainer, honestly, at that point.
So I've heard about, Bridger Pennington's program. So yeah, talk us through like the logistics of creating the fund. Like how did you, from a legal standpoint, and then you mentioned some partners, are you in it with a couple of different guys, or is it just you? Or
so now it's just me. Like I have like some advisors, like not like financial advisors, but like board advisors, like people like really, really trust and good friends. Like Ryan Flint was on here. Like I love that guy.
Cool. Yeah.
Really, really good friend and mentor. That's great. But it's not cheap to set these up. Like there is some money involved, especially on the education side, because dude, like I wouldn't tell someone who's like getting started as an advisor to go be a fund manager. Go be an advisor first. Go learn the basics. Go learn this stuff, because things are easier now, but it's because I have a really great like basis of knowledge like with me now. But yeah, it wasn't cheap. And even there's still times where dude, I'll have to answer like legal questionnaires and stuff. And I just tell them like, honestly, I don't know the answer to that. Like, can we like have some banter and figure out that answer together kind of a thing? But honestly, I am a guy who like really, really wants to win with other people. I hate winning alone, like genuinely. So every one of my companies has a partner involved. But this one means so much to me, and I put my name on it, like with McNeil X. I've just had partners in the past that we don't align, like to the T. Like, it's hard to come across that person. I have guys that I trust, and there's people in my life that would be a fantastic partner, and they're just not ready to do it, or they might have a different interest, or like their attention's pulled away. Right. So like, I know that I can be a hard person, like a hard partner to have, because my focus like doesn't have 9 to 5. I don't have hours. Yeah. Like, I would expect us to be able to have banter from 12 to 2 or even 3 in the morning, like, because it means that much to me, man, like genuinely. Right. And so I don't want to have to pull all the weight and do all the work and do all the networking to set everything up for us to split it evenly. Right. Yeah. And even worse, I don't want us to say, well, Eric, you're doing more work, so why don't you take a bigger share? I'm like, no, dude, I'd rather be 50-50, or I want the whole thing. Yeah. I don't want us to like figure it out. Like, either we both are all in, or like it's just me. Right. Yeah, makes sense. So I built this way specifically because I even asked Christian Guzman about like the fitness guy, like, yeah, some of these things, because he's taken on some really big projects, like with like Alpha Land, Alpha Elite, like he's done some big things. And I asked him about having like partners, and he's like, because he's the same way, he likes to win with people, right? And he said, if it's within your grasp at all to do it by yourself, do it by yourself. Like, don't have a partner. He's like, it's great to have people that you can like refer out, and they can be like advisors to the company and help you out with the company, but own the company 100% if you can. And when it comes time to bring someone on, then you have some equity to give out, sure, but do it yourself. And so that helped me, because like I said, I love having people along with the journey and celebrate wins with, and I'm finding out how to do that by owning it and just bringing people along for the ride within it.
Cool. That makes a lot of sense, man. I like that. So for McNeil X, what's the strategy? So yeah, I mean, I guess describe kind of the fund's mandate. Like, are you guys agnostic to real estate stocks? Is it just it's just a single fund where you're pooling capital and then allocating it based off of your discretion? I guess kind of what's the strategy for investing? Yeah. So McNeil X it's actually really dope. So we're doing the business brand and wealth management is what the whole essence of McNeil X is. Like I said, we work with entrepreneurs on this side to where, like, if they want to come in for some branding, like I do the mentorship stuff, they want to come in for the investments, we have the fund. For athletes, same thing. Like, I do a lot of NIL deals for college guys. The pro guys, like, we help them with website, brand, logo, apparel, on my podcast, right? And so like there are ways for them to get paid, and then I manage the money, right? So that's McNeil X as a whole. But then the McNeil X fund, we're actually a fund of funds. And so like I meet with people that I trust. And so we have the single fund McNeil X, and then I have multiple opportunities within it. So I'm like, hey, if you want fixed income, go ahead and pull it here, and this is where we're going to put the money, and then you can get your fixed return of 10% a year. If you want something a little more aggressive, here's an opportunity fund, and here's where we put our money. And it's cool because everything's all reported on third party sites. So I have no control over that. If I move money out of the fund or move anything around, trades, anything, you're going to get notified. And so, cause that was someone said something like, they're like, dude, we just watched that, oh my gosh, I just had a brain fart. What's his name? On Netflix, ripped everybody off. Madoff. Yes, there we go. Sorry. So yeah, they're like, we just watched the Madoff thing. Like, I'm scared of something like that. And I'm like, obviously everyone is, but like, he didn't do any reporting. He didn't talk to anybody. He fabricated a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Everything that we do is third party. You can log in at any point in time. You have your own portal. You see where your money's at, how it's performing, and you can see all the trade data. Yeah. So if it's fixed income, you don't need to see trades, but you can check in on projects. But if we're doing some of the opportunity fund stuff, you can see the trades. You can see the stuff live every single day, so you know what's happening with the money. And it's really cool because on that platform, we have access to a lot of other opportunities, and it's like a network. And so how, for example, let's say you have like tiered rates, right? So if someone comes in with $1 million or $100,000, they can get 10%. They come with $1 million, they can have 15, right? Mm-hmm. I come in as one fund right away.
Yep.
And so I'm going to get the top tier 15% right away. So I can tell you, hey, come in for $25,000 instead of $100,000, and I can still get you 10%. Mm-hmm. You're not even hitting their minimums, right, but I can get you that. But guess what? As a fund manager, I'm getting 15. So now I get the 5% difference because I'm taking everybody's money in with me.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. So if I put $100,000 into the McNeil X fund, and then you guys are investing in several different things or assets or fixed income, what have you, is everyone diversified across those items, or have you guys set it up to where I put $100,000 in, but I say, hey, Eric, I only want to be in real estate? Mm-hmm. Or is it like, hey, if you're in the fund, you're invested in 7, 10 different things, right? I mean, I assume that's kind of...
No, that's such a great question. That's actually really, really important. So a traditional blind fund is you put money into McNeil X or whoever, yep, and you got no say. They tell you where all the money is going. They'll give you a list of like where all the money is going to be invested, and that's it. Plain and simple. The way we set up our fund, it's almost like an evergreen. It's like an evergreen syndicate, if you will. And so the one fund is McNeil X. Money comes into it, and then you tell me what you're looking for. Do you want fixed income? Cool. I can put all of it into fixed income. You want some fixed income? You want some opportunity fund, or you want something like commercial real estate? Well, let's put a little bit into each one. Each one has its minimum, and each one has a different fee structure. But now McNeil X can just be one fund, and then you can put money into however you want to allocate it. So now there's a lot more freedom for you. And so where I now win is if I had a fund that has a little bit of all of that, I could potentially lose a client, right? Someone comes with, $5 million, they're like, hey, I want to put all of it over here. I'm just like, sorry, like I only have this one offering. They're like, oh, shoot. Well, let me know if you ever have a new one. And I lose that person, right? Yep. Whereas now they come in and say, hey, I want to put all of it over here. Sweet, we'll put it in right now. And now, by the way, I have these other offerings. Do you want to like diversify some of it? Do you want to pull some money out of your other investments and put it over here? So like, I just have some autonomy now that like, it's game changing.
Interesting, man.
Yeah.
I feel like that's fairly unique because typically when you think of a fund, it's like, all right, this fund, everyone's going in and everyone's getting the same thing. Yep. It's all going into either, real estate or whatever it is. But that's a really unique structure because it allows you to have a fund, but then still operate like a wealth manager, like a financial advisor.
Yes.
And still cater portfolios to people.
And it's super cool because as a financial advisor, I would have to do like a risk tolerance questionnaire. I'd have to do like their time horizons, do all these different, things to figure out where they're at. Whereas now it's like, hey, look, here's like a few things that you can do. In the past, I've helped people like, I would say maybe put, some of it in this, some of that, right? But I'm not giving them any investment advice.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, hey, traditionally, this is what like a lot of people do. It's up to you, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas in the past, I would have to go through this whole like questionnaire, background stuff, and then like give them advice. Whereas now people can come in, Eric, I want to put money in your fund. Okay. Here's the info.
Yep.
And that's it. Right. And so now it's like, okay, here are our offerings. Let me know where you want to put the money. No, let's get to work.
That's great, dude. So how has it been going in terms of raising capital for the fund? I mean, probably a similar approach to what you're doing with the RIA, but are you still super focused on cold outreach? I think I saw a post the other day, like on Instagram, just kind of like you went through X number calls, X number, like, are you still doing a bunch of cold outreach? How are you growing your fund?
It's so funny. Again, I'm very competitive and I post my strategies all the time because I think there's maybe 1% to 2% of people out there that will actually consistently do what I do. Yeah. And I do it every single day. I don't miss. And so we're extremely active. I even, and as you know, like I'm in the athlete space, right? And so we actually compiled a list of, I think we have like 6,000 names. We have names, emails, Twitter handle, Instagram handle, and their LinkedIn. And we have that all set up with like 5,000 or 6,000 names. And every single day, manually, not like hiring virtual assistants, not doing automatic outreach and like bots. Like I am going into every single person. So like that probably takes like 4 hours a day of just that, where I'm doing like 50 people per day of going to a post. I follow them. I like three posts. I comment on 3 posts, tell them to check their DM, send them a DM. Wow. Next person all day. And then once
you're doing that,
that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
As soon as I finish Instagram, go over to Twitter, go over to LinkedIn, right? And then now we have this email list. And now that's probably the only thing we do that's automated. And now I put them in an email marketing campaign. And it's like, hey, by the way, we connected on Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever. You told me to shoot you an email. Here's this. And now it's just driving traffic, right? And then just setting up follow-up. And so it's crazy, dude. Like I'm so much more efficient. We were talking about this before I came in, that like I don't even work at an office anymore. Like I just work from home. Yeah. And I work from my laptop or my phone, and that's it. Cause dude, I can do, 150 pieces of outreach every single day from home, like in my basement. Like we watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, have some pizza, and just hang out and just reach out to people all day. Yeah. Right. And so, and then from there, now, if anybody wants to hop on a call, I have a series of webinars. Right. So now they're interested. I'm like, okay, perfect. Watch this quick intro video and let me know if you're interested, and I'll send you my calendar. Now that's automated. Now like people are like teed up. So now my calendar is full. Like I typically only take like 4 or 5 appointments per day max. I don't want to like overload myself. And I always take my mornings off. So I work from 12 to 8 and that's it. Right. Or like 7. And so that way I know every name on my calendar should be money.
Yep.
Because like I've already reached out to them. I told them about myself and they watched the webinar and now they're on my calendar. So like that business needs to be closed. And if I can't close it, like something happened that like I screwed up, right? Like, cause there's no way they shouldn't close if they're on my calendar at that point.
Yeah, dude, that's me. I mean, there's so much we could dive into, cause for us, like we've had groups, and I don't know if it was maybe Bridger's group or another consultant who helped you like set up the click funnels and all that automation and all that stuff. But like we've had groups reach out to us like, hey, you know, we can set up a click funnel, like we can get the webinars going and scripts and all this stuff. I don't know. Did you implement any of that?
I did my own.
Just
just like, and it was just like,
what software are you using for like email automation?
So we use, was it Go High Level?
Okay.
I think is what it's called. And then that way, like we can walk them through a sequence, and then at any point in time, they like stop in the sequence, the email picks them up to the next step.
Yeah.
And so it's like they're going from like A to B and we want them at C, and then they stop. An email is going to retarget them and say, hey, you missed out on C, and hit them like 1 or 2 more times. And if they're not interested, it's like, hey, here's like a lower offer. Maybe you're not ready for this right now, but here's this. We can at least stay in touch.
And do you have a team? I mean, because obviously but do you have employees or?
I have one assistant, and we just crank, dude, like all day.
Yeah. And when you say, what's the goal? I mean, is the goal, you do the branding, you do the consulting, you do the fund. But I guess it's probably different depending on the lead. But is the goal like, hey, we want to get you in the fund and at X dollars, or I guess it depends.
Yeah, no. Okay. So great question. So obviously, as you know, I juggle a lot of things, and it sounds like a lot for just me and one assistant to do, right? That's who's like, I trust him with everything. Like he has like all my logins to everything, my passwords, and like, he got my whole life locked down, right?
Sure.
So if a client wants to come do like e-commerce, like we do like Amazon FBA, for example, like we haven't even touched on any of that, right? No. And so like if a client wants to do that, they go through a webinar. Once they watch a webinar, we even talk about pricing, everything, like super transparent. They want to move forward, perfect. Hit me up, we're ready. As soon as that happens, now we probably have like 40 people that like work for me that do that. We have a warehouse group, we have customer service, like we have all that. We order your product, we ship it off to Amazon, and they fulfill it when the client buys stuff, right?
Okay.
So that's like on the e-com side. The wealth side, same thing. If they want to work with us, now they come over to my assistant, then they come to me. And if they go into the fund, now I have like a fund administrator, a Vestor, which is a massive company. They do all like the K1s, the reporting, the third party stuff. It's a fund of funds. And so like, for example, even if we want to integrate your real estate stuff, now you and your team become a partner. So it like, I run the operation, but I have so many people around me. But here's the best part is like, if these guys were partners and like, just for the sake of the example, I started partnering with you and we owned it together and then you just didn't live up to your end of the deal, that would suck. Like it now ruined my name and my company. But now like you're just a fund I invest in. So if you're doing a great job, we have a great relationship, I'll keep giving you money. But as soon as like things start to go sour, we have a bad relationship or like, I don't like the way you're doing business. Okay, how many real estate funds are out there? Yeah. I can cut you off and go get someone else, sure. Right? And go build another relationship. And it doesn't hurt me or my clients at all.
Yep.
So I've just been able to learn how to be extremely efficient with me and one or two other people and then hiring the right partners around me.
Yeah, dude. I feel like we're just, scratching the surface, man, with everything you got going on. But, well, that's great. What's your goal for the fund? I mean, are you like, hey, want to have X AUM within X years, or like, what's the vision for the fund?
I genuinely see it as $1 billion driver for me, honestly. And the reason why, and a big piece of why I'm in the sports world now and focusing specifically on athletes and investors, is that's going to be able to catapult me into becoming like in ownership one day of like a franchise. That's where I see this all going. But yeah, I mean, I really want to like, I'm racing to 100 million on the AUM. But like, dude, I'm getting 20% carried interest on a fund that's getting 10% every month. So that's compounded. So if clients are getting 400, right? Like I'm getting close to 100%. I'm doubling it every year. Yeah. You know, 100 million to 200 to 400 to 800. Now we're at 1.6 billion. Like that happened in 4 years, right? Yeah. Once you hit that 100, right? Like that's how quickly things could happen and escalate. So
where are you guys at about, can you share on AUM or kind of where you're at now?
So I can't get into all the details of those numbers, but on one piece, like just on the opportunity fund, it's like around 50.
Nice.
But like in total, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share yet.
All good.
But yeah, so like at least on the opportunity side, we're like right around 50.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And then on the carried interest piece, do you provide your investors with like I guess like a preferred return, or is it deal by deal? Like when do you get to take your 20% carry or your carried, whatever it is?
So the carried interest, so everyone's getting that, reports out monthly. So like I said, we're a fund to fund. So where I put the money in, we're getting paid out monthly, as needed. Right. And so I'm getting paid out on the carried interest, and the clients, they can leave it in the fund without having to like withdraw it. Like, so it's up to them. If they want to draw an income, they on the opportunity fund, they need to hold it for 4 months and that's it. After 4 months, you can take out all of it, or you can just draw income. So you just have to notify me once a month, and then I can send you out a payment once a month. Yep. But I'm getting the carried interest every single month.
Dang, man. That's great. Well, excited for the growth. Again, I've seen everything you've been doing, and sounds like you guys are on a rocket ship, man. So it's exciting. Yeah,
it's been exciting, man.
Well, dude, we'll wrap up here in just a sec, but I want to touch on social media because you do have such a strong presence there.
Yeah.
What is like the strategy and thought process there? I mean, you mentioned some of it's flashy. You got the cars and some of the speaking engagements, but like, how has that been an integral part of your success and your business?
It's been so much, dude. It's been so much, especially because you said JP Morgan, I said McNeil X. Who are you going to trust?
Yeah.
JP Morgan. Like, right. They already have the name, right?
Sure.
And so how do I compete with that? How do I go to the NFL Combine and like pro days, and I'm going up next to like the Edward Jones guy and the Schwab guy and the JP guy, and then I'm over here to say, who do you want to work with? Like, I have to be different. And I have to be true to who I am. So when it comes to like being on social media, and we talk about this a lot on the podcast, like brand building, do not be who you're not, because it's going to be very exhausting, and you're going to attract people who you probably don't even want to work with because you're being something that you're not. And now they see you as someone who you're not, and now you have to live that life forever. And that's exhausting. And I talk to a lot of people in the space. So like, during that whole like crypto boom, when everyone made money and everyone was like, it was all about like yachts and Lamborghinis, and like everyone was just balling out, right? There's something that goes into marketing about like hook, line, sinker. And there's people out there who are only hook, 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 hook. And you're starting to like go through all these posts. It's like, okay, There's no call to action. There's no link in their bio. Like they're not serving people. They're not doing anything. I'm like, I'm really just following this guy because he posts nice things and he's not showing me how to make money. Like this is all about him. I no longer have any interest. Right.
Yep.
And so now when you go to look at like some of the stuff that I've done, like the last 2 years, it was like shock marketing. So like, dude, when I posted my McLaren, like, cause people know me, like the nicest car I had at that point was like a Ford Raptor, which is a nice truck, but it's not like super luxurious. Right. Yeah. And then I just posted something about me and a McLaren and everyone's like, dude, what the heck just happened? And so it started shocking people. And then I started like, now I got this watch and now I'm sitting like courtside at games and now I'm like traveling to Miami and I'm on these yachts and all these things start getting like really flashy and everyone's like, dude, what the heck? And now you're getting a ton of attention.
Yep.
What do you do with the attention? It's like running ClickFunnels ads and then you don't have a ClickFunnels. You just run ads to like this website that's not done. Right. And now it's like you lose everybody and they won't come back. And so now if you go look at my page, like from time to time, you'll see some like flashy stuff, but like you'll see like a car, you'll see something, but underneath it is like the caption is very important. So now I'm like talking about, I think yesterday I was talking about like, I had a picture of like my Rolex in the car. And it's like, the only time that I'm worried about is like, it's time to level up. Mm-hmm. Like who's with me? Like, what are you guys doing today? Like, how are you getting better today? And so now I'm like asking these interpersonal questions to like really ask yourself, like, what are you doing to get better? Like, how are you leveling up? Are you sick of where you're at? Like, let's do something together. Like invest in my fund. Talk to me about e-commerce. Talk to me about passive income. Like, anything money related, talk to me. Like I will help you. And if I can't do it, I promise you I have the network of someone who can help you. Right. And so if you see someone who is like just posting about themselves, just stop following them. It's not worth your energy. It's fake. Yep. But if you see someone who has some really nice things online and they're showing you how to make money and like do well, follow those people.
That's so good, man. Would you recommend somebody acquire flashy or like the nice cars? Like it sounds like that kind of catapulted some momentum for you when you like,
if that's your personality, bro. Like when I was growing up, like I'll never forget this. Like the only way I pulled this off is because my dad was out of town and I had a basketball game, like a youth basketball game. Allen Iverson was like my idol. And I showed up to the game like wearing sweats and my mom was like, he never does that, but like I won't say anything. And I take off I waited till I was on the bench. I think I was just probably like anywhere from like 8 to 10. I take the sweatpants off and I had like one sock on. And like I thought I was so dope, dude. I was so flashy. And my mom was like, I saw her in the stands and she was just like, I can't wait to tell your dad. Like, you're not supposed to be like that. My dad always taught us that you're humble, right? You don't need to like look loud on the court, like let your stats like kind of show for it, right? But I'm like, nah, like I'm very like spotlight. I'm like Miami, LA, Scottsdale. Like that's just like my vibe. Growing up, I loved like the spinner wheels on cars. You know what I mean? Like just like super flashy. So like I stopped like hiding it. Who cares? That's who I was. And for a long time, it was like a Drake song where he's like, I wanted to buy everything in store, so I bought it all just to make sure. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, that was like what pushed me for a long time was like, I'm motivated by nice things. And like, at first I thought that was probably a problem. I was like, it seems very superficial. But I was like, no, dude, if that's going to motivate me to be successful, like, why is that a problem? Like, if that's what makes me happy, then go do it. And so I started to do it. And then that's where I had the change where I was like, oh, this isn't actually very fulfilling. It's cool. It's fun, but for how long? And now it's like, okay, the stuff that makes sense is like, what am I doing with my platform? How many lives am I touching? Like, can I serve people? Like the more money I make, now I can actually donate more. Like I can travel the world. I can give my time. I can give money. Like, okay, now I want to make more money because I can bless more lives. And we just adopted a kid and I want to put him in like the best sports camps possible. Or if he's a musician, send him to the best musical schools. If like, I don't care what he wants to do, whatever he wants to do, we'll be able to put him in like the best opportunity to succeed because I'm successful and able to make money. Right. And so I tell everyone that it's like, be honest with yourself on what your why is. Find out why you want to make money, why you want to be successful. Because if you just want to be successful, you want to make money, you'll find ways to make money, but they probably won't be honest. You might screw over a partner to make that money and you might take it because your why was making money. But if your why is, deeper and like a fundamental like piece of like money is a byproduct, you'll get the money, but because you're trying to see out like this other goal and money's just the byproduct.
Love it, man. Well, last question, we'll wrap it up. In terms of advice you'd have for somebody wanting to start their own business, make the leap to entrepreneurship, big part of your life, but what advice would you give to somebody who's been either on the sidelines or wanting to make that jump into that?
Just fire, ready, aim. Like start. You will fail, and I hope you do, because you learn so much through failure. Failure is probably one of the best teachers on this planet. Like, dude, when I first started my company, I thought I was going to ball out. I think I made like 20 grand. And it was terrible. It was demoralizing. It hurt. And I was like, okay, I need to fix some things. And now I need to go make some more money, right? I've had clothing companies fail. I've had e-commerce companies fail. I've had countless failures, right? But a failure is when you give up, right? And so it's like, you just got to keep going. And I promise you, the entrepreneurship journey is lonely. I don't care if you're married or not, because your spouse does not think the way you think, and they're not doing the exact same thing that you're doing. You have a different view on your entrepreneurship journey, right? And you will feel like you're building the plane as you fly it. You will be up at 2 a.m, stressed out, probably crying, and like have moments pulling out your hair. These will all happen. You will have months where you're making $100,000 in 1 month and you'll go 2-3 months without making a dime. Like, just get yourself ready and go do it. You have no idea what you're capable of, especially because your back's against the wall. If you do not succeed, you will lose your house. You will not eat. You will lose everything. Versus you have a cushy 9 to 5, you get a pension, you get 401k benefits, but you make $3-4 grand take home a month. What do you want? Like, choose your hard. And that's all I got to say for that.
Dude, no better way to end, Eric. Thanks so much for being here, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it.